This program is based on true events. Certain scenes and dialogue have been dramatized, and it may even cause nightmares. I'm Todd Robbins, and all my life I've been fascinated with stories so strange, so dark, so twisted. It couldn't possibly be true. I have 3 of them for you.
The woman was still bleeding out when we arrived on the scene.
A tale of TV journalism that redefines meeting a deadline.
Get there as fast as you can.
This is the most shocking thing we have ever captured.
The story of a common medicine that turns out to be a dose of death.
I didn't do it.
Help! I need a doctor!
The saga of a town haunted by fear. I guess they're nightmares that have already come true. There's a saying in the news business, if it bleeds, it leads. The nightly news is filled with stories of crime, murder, and sorrow.
Tonight on Crime Scene Live, we take you behind the scenes.
But here's a dirty little secret. The people that broadcast the news wouldn't show us all that mayhem if we didn't crave it. We all want to glimpse the dark side, but from the safety of our living rooms.
To find out exactly what is going on our streets and who is behind the crime.
Okay, ready on camera 1? Take camera 1.
Wally, as you can see here, there's another crime scene live happening right behind me. The police tell me that they don't yet have a suspect in this shooting, but one source believes that this murder is part of an ongoing drug war between 2 rival factions. And of course, we will keep you updated with any new information as it becomes available. Coming to you live from downtown, I'm Bianca Castro for Crime Scene Live. Back to you in the studio, Wally.
Thank you, Bianca, for that live report. Well, tonight, another young man dead in the streets. It is becoming a scene we are too familiar with. The violence, the killings, and yet, may I ask, where is the police? Where is the order? Where is the justice? And ladies and gentlemen, where is the outrage? Keep those tips coming to Crime Scene Live. Together, we will clean up these streets.
That's a wrap. Okay, so make sure you check the satellite feeds that I want the graphics sent to me for approval.
Great show, everyone. Great show. Good job.
That's Wally Souza, anchorman, prophet, ratings giant. Every evening he reports on the battle between criminals and the police, a battle the police are losing. He calls it as he sees it, and that's why people love him and why his audience is so big.
So make sure you get the line cut to the editor.
That's Art Ruby, Crime Scene Live's news director, anonymous tip collector, and ratings cheerleader. TV news is a push business, and there's no one pushier than Art Ruby.
Once you get settled, Wally, let's talk ratings. We got to get our numbers up.
Numbers, we're number 1.
Today we're number 1. Tomorrow we're in the crapper if we don't deliver.
The Wally Souza Show
was the show that everybody had to see. It covered police activity, gang warfare, with every single gruesome detail. And the more gruesome it was, the higher the ratings were.
Pass.
Wally's show was something of a two-way street.
All right, let's do this.
Wally gave his audience the shocking crime stories they craved, and they gave him anonymous tips and leads he needed to cover those stories.
What you got?
Shooting in Barrio Nuevo. The woman was still bleeding out when we arrived on the scene. We got there like 10 seconds after the cops. Man, did not like it.
Art Ruby vetted the tips and sent the crew where the action was with clear instruction. Get there before the police, to remind the audience who was really on their side.
Hey, Carmen, roll ahead like 40 seconds.
Copy that.
Crime scene live. First on the scene. Again? Congratulations. Now, stay the hell out of the way and get that camera off me. I said get the camera off me. Get that camera off me.
What are we supposed to do? Ask for permission? You get a tip, we go where it takes us.
That's why we're number one.
We gotta keep this up. We're only as good as our last ratings report. Nice job, everyone. Great job. Thank you.
And that's how it went, night after night. Wally and his crew would get a hot tip, they'd follow up on it, and they'd get the story. Crime Scene Live was always first on the scene, and they brought their viewers true stories filled with murder and violence. It shocked the masses, but they always wanted more.
We got another call. Looks like a good tip. Bianca, I don't have to tell you how important this next ratings period is. All our jobs are on the line. Okay, so get the cameras in close. I want to be right there with the cops. Yeah, okay. 1300 Rio Avenue. Go live with it.
Okay, we'll do our best.
No, your best is delivering the whole story, period. Go, go, go.
Where are the cops?
Worry about them when they get here.
There's a dead guy over there. I just called the cops.
Oh my God.
Just roll.
Okay.
Okay, come up to me. We're here live on Rio Avenue on 700 block where another young man is dead, an apparent gunshot victim. We arrived first on the scene. Conspicuously absent are the police. And hopefully when and if they do arrive, the police will be able to tell us what happened. Reporting live from Rio Avenue, I'm Bianca Castro for Crime Scene Live. Back to you, Wally.
That is incredible footage, Bianca. But it is yet another sad reminder of the danger we all live in. The police, they're not looking after you, but I am. And I hope you will look after me. Keep those tips coming. God bless.
First on scene, first in ratings, Georgie.
Another lurid crime scene, another ratings grabber. Audiences loved it and couldn't get enough of it. But you know who did have enough of it and wanted this all stopped? The police.
Damn it. Look who beat us here again.
Lucky.
That's one word for it. Bianca, you know the drill. Come on, move back.
Come on, ever heard of freedom of the press, detective?
This is a crime scene. Ever heard of interfering with a police investigation?
Or accessory to murder? Move him back, guys.
Swatter, come on.
Law enforcement and media have a complicated relationship. The media can get in the way. That could represent an issue for the security of all involved, but it can also hinder an investigation.
They have better sources than we do? Come on. I don't believe it.
Doesn't make any sense the way they do this.
It was the anonymous tips that put Crime Scene Live ahead of the police. These tips were so good that Art Ruby had his crew staked out in the field so they could respond as soon as the call came in.
Hey, boss, what's up?
Bianca, I got something.
Yeah?
Came in on the tip line, but you gotta go now. 10th and Octavio. Get there as fast as you can.
Okay. Let's go.
You sure this is the right place? There's nothing going on here. No cops, that's for sure. Just a bunch of kids.
It's the address he gave me. Just go to the camera and keep it rolling. Hey, over there. Got it? Carmen! We're on the corner of 10th and Octavio, right outside the shopping arcade, where we have just witnessed the most brazen, the most despicable execution-style murder. Right on the street and right in the front of witnesses. I have to say, this is the most shocking thing we have ever captured on Crime Scene Live. We have just witnessed the most brazen, the most despicable execution-style murder. I have to say, this is the most shocking thing we have ever captured on Crime Scene Live. Got it?
How good were Art Ruby's news tips? Well, this one got them to the scene not only before the police, it got them to the crime scene before the crime.
Carmen!
Is this too, can we even show this?
Play it back. Play it back. I want a full 3 minutes on this, right at the top of the show. Bianca, I want you on set in the second segment talking to Wally as an eyewitness to murder. This is ratings gold We're first on scene, first in the ratings. All right, let's go, everybody. Let's go. Move it.
Tonight on Crime Scene Live, yet another exclusive.
When Wally actually showed a live murder on TV, it was a little bit like what happens when you see a car crash. You know you're not supposed to look, but you can't stop looking. The audience could not get enough. The ratings shot up.
Good night, and God bless.
Live, late-breaking, and lethal. That was the magic formula for Wally Sousa's Crime Scene Live television ratings dominance. Although shamelessly broadcasting an actual murder drove ratings higher than ever, it was probably too soon to celebrate.
I'm telling you, Eddie.
Eventually, Wally could count the local police among his growing viewership, who were tired of seeing his crews all set up before they even arrived.
That's my car you're leaning on, Detective.
Wally, your team, those tips, I gotta say, I'm impressed.
You know what? I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that I have to live in a city where the police are so...
for the masses. Wally, we would hate to have to charge you with interfering with an investigation.
Or worse.
Well, hang on. You guys know about freedom on the press, right?
It's freedom of the press, Eddie. You're Eddie Suarez, right?
Don't look so surprised. Fellas, despite what you two think, we have our sources too.
You see, Eddie? It's more the same. Instead of these two cleaning up this street, they'd rather harass a private citizen. Detective, I'm tired and I'd like to go home now.
Okay. See you on a small screen, big guy.
Unreal, Eddie.
Police and reporters, they rarely get along, but they do have one thing in common. They're only as good as their sources. And right now, the police need better sources.
We just want to ask you about some of your sources. There's no need to sweat over it.
Look, I don't have any sources. And from what I can tell, neither does Bianca. We're just pebbles to them. We go where we're kicked.
So, who's kicking you?
Art Ruby. He runs this place. He's got us all on a tight leash, even Wally. He gets all the tips from the tip line, you know? He hands us an address and we go check it out, or else.
Police turn their attention to Art Ruby, collector of the anonymous tips that fuel the Crime Scene Live ratings machine.
So everything you guys do is based on anonymous tips as recorded by your public tip line?
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't do it without the good citizens of our community.
Yeah, right. Well, we're gonna need to get a copy of the tip line recordings. All of them.
And you're gonna need a judge's order. I have to protect my sources, detectives, you understand.
No. We don't understand exactly.
Come on. It's over.
Freedom of the press, right? It's called accessory to murder.
Ruby had the police cornered. He didn't have to give them access to his precious tip line, the lifeblood of his hit show. And the police knew they were cornered, and the police don't like to be cornered.
Okay, I got it. Okay, that was Ruby. Let's go.
Pretty soon, Art called with another anonymous tip. But by this time, police had gotten smart and realized the way to find crime was to tail Art's team. Because if you can't beat them, you might as well follow them.
The hell is that? Active shooters. Active shooters!
Police! Drop the weapon!
On the ground! Right now! Hands behind your head!
Finally, the police were in the right place at the right time. But not if you're Eddie Suarez. Turns out Eddie...
Hang on, you guys know about freedom on the press, right?
Wally's part-time manservant was the man behind the gruesome murders. After his arrest, Eddie Suarez gave up the man at the center of Crime Scene Live.
I don't know what you think you're doing here. This is private property.
But it wasn't Art Ruby.
It's showtime, Wally.
Detectives, how may I help you?
It was Wally Souza.
You're under arrest for murder. Hands
Arrest?
behind your back.
For murder.
Put your hands behind your back.
It was Wally who had ordered all the murders that appeared on his nightly newscast.
Can't believe my eyes. This is outrage. Yeah, you're on private property.
This is how it all worked. First, Wally would call Eddie and tell him who he wanted dead and when.
Eddie, I need you to listen very carefully. It's time. Now.
Eddie had the dual task of carrying out the assassinations and calling the tip line to report a murder he witnessed.
I'm calling to report a murder.
Yeah.
Art Ruby, blinded by an obsession with TV ratings, couldn't see the obvious. These tips were phony. He played the unwitting fool to the most unethical news-gathering scheme ever created.
Excellent. All right, it's great.
So, why would this anti-violence crusader order all these killings? To boost ratings? Well, yes, but that was only an added benefit. You see, TV host was only Wally Souza's part-time job. His full-time job, the one he didn't talk about on TV, Wally was a drug trafficker.
The reaction was shock. It was huge news. It was like, this is beyond anything that anybody can imagine. It's not just that this guy is a criminal and a drug lord. He is on television, and he is basically broadcasting his crimes and presenting them as excellent, perfect deeds.
Wally Souza was charged with murder and a slew of other crimes in 2009. But the Wally show was canceled for good when he died in custody in 2010. Wally portrayed himself as a man of the people and a defender of the innocent against the rising tide of violent crime, when in reality, he was the rising tide. His act was all a lie. And I guess that just goes to show when it comes to people on TV, you never know what's real and what's an illusion. Coming up is a story of a drug that takes care of what ails you.
What happened? What happened?
Quickly, help!
Once and for all.
That's something only a killer would know. Did you do it, Keith?
Marriage. Some are long, some are short, but they're always filled with promise. Richer or poor, in sickness and health, that sort of thing. Those familiar wedding vows are a contract. They bind a couple together. But what if those binds become too tight? What do you do then? Well, there is one way of loosening them, and it's found right there in those wedding vows. Till death do us part.
Say it. I love to hear you say it. Say it, please. Say it.
Presenting Mrs. Michael Daniker. What?
I'll be right back. Just don't you fall asleep now.
Sleep is the last thing I'm gonna do. Mrs. Daniker. Honey? You okay? Kathy? Here, come in. You okay? Kathy? Help! Somebody! Help! We need help in here!
Dying on your wedding night,
Help, somebody!
it's almost unthinkable. What was supposed to be the happiest day of Mrs. Daniker's life was her last. Police were called and they came armed with questions.
No drugs, nothing like that.
No. Wine with dinner, yes. Nothing else.
Okay.
Did she say anything before she lost consciousness?
No, nothing.
Heartbreaking loss. Unless you go through an experience like this, it's impossible to know how bad the pain truly can be. And in Washington in 1991, that pain was just beginning for Stan McWhorter and his loving wife, Jane.
Oh, Stan. Are you feeling any better?
No. I wouldn't wish Santa's trouble on anyone.
You know, the Davises called to see what we could do tomorrow night, but I told them you were not in any condition to go out. So, you know, we do have that leftover lasagna, maybe just with a little side salad or something. Or, you know, we could have something simple like, they do say that chicken soup sort of, you know, opens up the sinuses and... Stan? Stan!
The strange and sudden death, just like Kathy Daneker. That's two married couples torn apart. So very sad. But they say bad things happen in threes, and things are about to get worse.
Help! I need a doctor, quickly!
What happened?
I don't know, 1 minute she had a stomachache, then the next she was on the floor shaking. Please help her!
All right. Right here. All right, let's go.
After convulsing, Jennifer Melling slipped into a coma. Her life was hanging by the thinnest of threads. Her husband, Joseph Melling, is left wondering whether his wife will even make it through the night. Kathy Daneker dead on her wedding night. Stan McWhorter dead at the kitchen table. And Jennifer Melling rushed to the hospital and clinging to life. All three victims displayed the same strange symptoms and seizures, and it all happened within a week, less than 50 miles apart. Some might say it's just a strange coincidence. Detectives Church and Longo
I gotta call you back.
won't.
That's some blood work for Jennifer Mellon. That's the coroner's report for Kathy Daneker and Stan McWhorter. Want the highlights?
Yeah.
Cyanide. Cyanide killed Daneker and McWhorter and almost killed Mellon. All three were poisoned.
Cyanide? How can that be?
Detectives discovered that the common cause was, of all things, cyanide poisoning, which these detectives had never seen in their career before. It's certainly very rare. So they were struck by that, like, wait a minute, something's going on here.
Police had to find a connection between these three strangers, so they went back to the people who know the victims best. Michael Daneker, Mrs. McWhorter, Joseph Melling, their lawfully wedded spouses.
Did the names Daneker or McWhorter mean anything to you?
Do the names Melling and Daneker mean anything?
No. Not at all.
No, I haven't heard of either of them.
Anytime there's a group of murders in a single area, the police naturally look to see how they can connect the murders. In this case, however, they discovered There was no family connection. The victims didn't know each other. They didn't go to the same schools, same churches.
At first, it looked as if they had nothing in common. But finally, investigators discovered one very important connection.
She said her allergies were acting up. Kept her meds in the bathroom.
I know he took something right as I arrived back home from the market.
It was over-the-counter stuff, I think. Yeah, I mean, she took it all the time.
Do you know what that medicine was called?
Might have been Sudafed.
Sudafed.
Sudafed. That's what all the victims had in common. It's used as a cure for congestion, but when laced with cyanide, well, it produces a very different result. Soon, the tampering scare spread nationwide, and before it was over, a very familiar name would be charged with murder. Someone has tampered with packages of Sudafed, lacing the drug with cyanide. The result? Kathy Danaker and Stan McWarther are dead, and Jennifer Melling is in a coma. The victims all took the tainted drugs, collapsed, and went into convulsions. It set off a nationwide panic. No one knows who will be next.
Thank you, sir. So there was a decision to recall and move all of the product of Sudafed from all store shelves across the nation. There was a general panic because is this the same person that did the Tylenol tampering that occurred in '82?
In the Tylenol case, 7 people died and no one was ever arrested. The police start to wonder, is this the same guy? Has the Tylenol killer resurfaced as the Sudafed killer?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no, we're working on it. Yeah, there's been a national recall on Sudafed. That's correct.
Why is some madman lacing Sudafed with cyanide so that random victims are dropping like flies?
There's only one chemical company that sells cyanide within a 50-mile radius of these crimes. Naturally, the detectives pay a visit.
Every time someone buys cyanide, we log it here. And we register every purchase with the state, too. Here and here.
Richard Johnson bought a pound of it right before the first attack.
And then he bought some more.
Richard Johnson. It might not be the most common name in the country, but it has to be close. The name means nothing to the detectives, but there might be someone who recognizes it.
Richard Johnson? No.
Did she ever mention the name Richard Johnson?
Not to me.
You sure?
Yeah.
I know it's a common name, but do you know a name Richard Johnson?
No. I don't think so.
It's a dead end. And how many Richard Johnsons could there be in this part of the state, or statewide, across the country? It would take forever to track them all down. So to break the case open, police offer a $100,000 reward for any information that will lead to the killer.
When the police offer the $100,000 reward, the police got hundreds and hundreds of leads and had to investigate every single one of them, which took a great deal of energy, effort, and manpower with no results.
Most of the tips that came in were complete nonsense. Many were just thinly veiled attempts to collect the reward money. Few were helpful. But there was one that broke the entire case wide open.
Keith, didn't you tell Detective Church what you told me?
What, the serial numbers?
Mm-hmm.
The serial numbers on the packages of pills don't match the serial numbers on the boxes.
How do you know that? That's something only a killer would know. Did you do it, Keith? Keith, did you do it?
I didn't do it. But the guy who told me about the serial numbers did do it. He said he wanted to get rid of his wife. I thought he meant a divorce. Then this happened.
The suspense is killing me.
What about the money? The $100,000?
Keith, I thought we were developing some trust here.
It's my nephew, Joseph Melling.
Joseph Melling.
Help! Somebody, I need a doctor!
Okay. Thanks, Keith.
Hey, what about my reward?
Now things are heating up. The police have a name, a familiar name. Needing more background information on Joseph Melling, they pay a visit to his employer.
So he wasn't very good at his job, then?
Selling insurance isn't easy. But this guy, Melling, he was the worst. He only sold one insurance policy.
Any chance we take a look at that policy?
I got it here. Sold it to himself. A policy on his wife. Full death benefits if Mrs. Melling dies. $700,000. Beneficiary, Joseph Melling.
Take a look at that part. In the middle. Effective policy day, February 1st. And she was poisoned
The next day. February 2nd.
Oh, wait, but we're looking for Richard Johnson, not some Melling that drives his wife to the hospital and saved her life. I mean, what murder does that?
But there was something else on the policy that caught the detective's eye.
Look at this signature right here.
Yeah, Melling's signature.
Something right there on the dotted line.
We're gonna have to hold on to this for a while. Okay, follow me.
when the FBI was looking into who went to the chemical company to buy the cyanide, they obtained a signature from the company from the individual that purchased the cyanide.
Now we can compare the signatures.
Through their investigation, they were able to match Mr. Mailing's handwriting from his own signature from the insurance policies that he had completed on his wife.
Hey, look at this J here.
Uh-huh.
And look at that J.
Identical.
And there it was, in plain black ink, a match in the signatures of Joseph Melling and Richard Johnson.
Bye-bye, Mr. Melling.
Mr. Melling.
Look, I told you, I'm not going to answer any more of your questions. Call my lawyer.
You can call him. You're under arrest. Stand up, sir.
Joseph Melling, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, one may be appointed for you.
Mr. Mailing devised a plan to murder his wife. To cover his tracks, he went to other stores, lacing or tampering with the Sudafed packs, hoping that other people would die so it would take the focus off of him.
Trying to kill his wife, Jennifer, is a hideous crime. But at least the motive, that insurance policy, is clear.
Yes.
He wanted police to think that there was a madman on the loose, not just a husband trying to get rid of his wife. They took Joseph Melling to jail that day and charged him with 2 murders and the attempted murder of his wife, Jennifer. He claimed he was innocent, but a jury thought otherwise, and he was sentenced to life in prison.
Mr. Mailing could have faced the death penalty for the double murder and the attempted murder. The only thing on the table at the time was life without parole for the double murders.
Joseph Melling's twisted plot was his attempt to speed up the "till death do us part" section of his wedding vows. Fortunately, his wife, Jennifer, survived, but their marriage did not. She divorced him, and rightfully so. Being married to a man who tried to kill you, that's a bitter pill to swallow. Next is a ghostly story of a town scared to death.
That thing is real.
There's no such thing as ghosts. But what if the line between our world and the supernatural was blurred? Would you still want to hear a chilling ghost story if you knew its grisly ending was all too real?
I swear I can't keep staying up this late if I want to be on time for work in the morning.
It's barely past midnight, you old lady.
I'm not an old lady.
Who
was checking their watch at 7 p.m.
Oh, hey.
Exactly.
This is me. Okay, you're sure you're okay with walking home by yourself?
I'll be fine. I'll call you in the morning.
Bye.
Night.
This particular ghost story begins as so many do, with someone walking home at night, all alone. Abigail Smith is taking her normal route home, but something about tonight is not normal.
Hello? Who's there?
In the village of Hammersmith, there was a ghost. And this ghost appeared at night, generally in the pitch black, and it would often appear to women. And it caused a tremendous panic in the village.
Okay, Abigail, slow down. Tell us what you saw.
It followed me. I could feel its presence. I heard it say my name.
Legend has it that the ghost that Abigail and the others claim they saw was that of a tortured soul who had committed suicide on the church grounds and then was buried in the church cemetery. The people of Hammersmith said the poor soul's ghost roamed their streets, angry and tormented.
One of the contemporary beliefs was that if you buried someone who committed suicide in hallowed ground, then their soul would not be at rest. So people thought that perhaps this was this man appearing and seeking revenge for his being buried in such a manner.
The townsfolk reported seeing this ghost more and more often in the following nights. It seemed no one could escape the ghost of Hammersmith. The town elders warned everyone to stay off the streets if they could, and most people heeded that warning. Most, but not all.
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Martha Ross? Martha?
Martha Ross dropped dead right where she stood. A heart attack? Probably. From fright? Definitely.
Help!
That got the town's attention.
People.
The town was divided into two camps. Those who believed the Hammersmith ghost was responsible for Martha's death, and those who felt there must be some rational explanation.
People, ladies, gentlemen. Ghosts scaring people to death. Who here really believes that?
That thing is real. He won't know peace, and neither can we.
This is not some old world curse. I'm telling you, there is someone.
Soon the whole town was seeing the ghost. Hammersmith was in full panic. It even pitted the living against each other. People said if you hadn't seen the ghost, that meant you were in league with him. Hysteria reigned. People were looking over their shoulders and locking their doors at night.
The townspeople decided to form a sort of a night's watch where armed men went walking around these darkened lanes at night looking for the ghost.
It's time to split up. Jim, you take a group west. Cameron, take your group east. Mr. Ryan, you two head south. I'll meet you at the church.
All right.
Not afraid to die, Mr. Ryan. Not if I can strike a blow against Satan himself before I go.
Keep your eyes and ears open.
Mr. Ryan.
I got him! Mr. Ryan, I got him! Smith! Smith? It's Thomas Millwood! Oh!
Francis Smith, the fellow with the gun there, looks as if he's seen a ghost, but of course he hasn't because ghosts aren't real. But you know what is real? Murder. And Smith has just committed one.
Thomas Millwood was a plasterer, and the uniform of the day was that you would wear all white as a plasterer, white trousers. He had on a white felt waistcoat and an apron, even white shoes. And he was walking at night when he heard Francis Smith call out to him. He probably didn't even have time to answer before he was shot and killed immediately. And the reason he was shot was because people were worked into a frenzy. They thought anyone in white could be a ghost, which of course sounds ridiculous. But this is what happened.
Francis Smith was sentenced to death for the murder of Thomas Millwood. But on appeal, the sentence was commuted. The court ruled Francis Smith had a good faith belief he was killing a ghost, and so did not commit an act of murder. So, what was it then that terrified the good people of Hammersmith and killed poor Martha Ross?
Martha.
Eventually, a man named John Graham came forward and admitted he was actually the Hammersmith ghost, having a little bit of fun keeping the town scared, until the fun ended in tragedy. No charges for him. I guess it's not against the law to be a public menace.
Hello? Hello?
So I was wrong. This isn't a ghost story. It's a very human story. A story about the very human traits of fear, hysteria, and mob justice. I told you, sometimes the end of ghost stories are all too real. You see, the truth can be more nightmarish than fiction. And there are many more of these stories to come. Until next time, may all your nightmares come true.